we are here today with Martin Mossler, our guest and interviewer. How are you?
I'm pretty well. Great host, great conference. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us and answering a few questions. In your professional career, you've had a lot of interesting and diverse kind of projects behind you, from the Department of Science and Research at the President's Office to head of and managing director of Science Park of Graz. Could you kind of give us a brief description of all of these different things and your development path and how you got to achieve this kind of impressive career?
Thank you so much. I like the compliment, which is flowing with what you've said. On the other hand, I think we should be very careful looking at other people's professional paths, because basically what you can draw from what I've done so far, because I even don't like really the term career, because it looks a bit like as if you were done.
Yeah.
The career is basically people start talking about their careers when basically they have no more movements, no more vision, no more aspirations anymore. That's when you start talking about careers. The question is a very fair one. Don't get me wrong, I like it. And I like the compliment behind it. But always be careful when people give career advice based on themselves, or when they start to be very happy with what they achieved so far, because it mostly means that they've reached a stage of saturation and of low speed, of content, exactly, of low speed, and that they're not really having too much vision and not too many goals anymore, apart from showing everybody that they're strong due to the position they're in.
Okay.
So it's basically, the next success is more important than the past success. The next big thing which you're going to do is more important than what you've done so far. The next technology is going to make a difference. The next technological leap forward will make a difference to our economies, and not the stuff which has been around for the last 10 or 15 years. Of course, we talk about those who've generated the technologies of the past.
Yeah,
but actually, they won't be the generators of tomorrow, because they are busy managing and
the current,
administrating the past. So it's a bit the same with careers. If there is something about what I've done so far and about my life path, it's highly inconsistent. It is unstable. It is showing a lot of different leaps and corners. It's not straightforward at all. I've started and stopped studies. I've done so several times. I finished a lot, but I also started stuff which I didn't finish. I've worked for the Austrian president, which I'm proud of, but I'm now working in a completely different field. There is very little consistency, apart from the fact that it is actually that I moved out of disciplines in order to move into new ones, that I changed occupations where I was good in order to start somewhere I was not so good at all, just with the pure knowledge that I will somehow manage, because I tend to be a survivor, especially when things get complex and tough. There's no consistency at all in what I did, apart from the fact that whenever I worked extremely hard and well, and I very much identified with my work. It's not the employer which you need to identify with, but the work is actually in the end what coins you and your self-confidence. I always did that. I really took my work like as if it was an entrepreneurial project. So even if it was in a large organization such as a university, I was seeing it like my project, like as if this was my startup. And now I'm in the startup sector, very much still working in the same manner as before. So within all the inconsistency, of course,
one thing is consistent.
With all the inconsistency, one thing was consistent, which was basically to really always push my own limits and boundaries. Never try to please someone, but to satisfy myself with the quality of my work, and not wait for feedback, but give feedback to I always feedback myself. Whatever I did, I basically knew how good it was, no matter. Mostly people were actually very satisfied. Even then, I still saw the levels where things could get better, and if someone was unsatisfied, sometimes it was actually not for fair reason. Sometimes it was. I still had my own degree of assessment. So I think doing your best, working hard, and also not taking yourself too seriously, but having a bit of a playful character in the equation helps. I still try to do that because that makes you also a lovely human being to be around. To be honest, I don't like to be people who are talking about how great they are and what they've achieved, because it's mostly the humble ones who are really the cool players.
Yeah, we have a saying in Serbia that's something like the calm water is what moves the mountains. So
exactly.
It really gives testament to what you said. It's true. Thank you very much. I really like your attitude about this. It's a really, really great thing. Could you kind of, with all your experience that you've had, you said that you've jumped jobs frequently, and the careers, and you have some academic kind of experience. You have some business experience. How do all those experiences enhance your understanding of the inherent difference between academia and business? And could you expand upon how they could come together?
It's probably one of the most important things in order to determine a better future for all of us, to bring academic exploration into scientific exploration, because science is all about exploration. A good scientist is like a little kid, curious for new stuff. Always, by the way, also jumping from one project to another. There is one thing about the scientific career which is very constant as well, which is permanent change. Yes, you're working within a certain field, but scientists ask each other, which project are you currently working on? They're not saying, which kind of scientist are you?
Yeah.
This is actually how the outside world looks at them. But they are actually working on projects, and if they are not interested in it anymore, they will switch to another one. This is actually what a curious mind needs. Other people just need to switch jobs. What I need. They go for, so basically, but what they do is they really look at what holds our planet and our structures together. This is incredibly important in order to determine the future, is to know where we come from and what we are. As I said, what really bonds us. And based on the scientific achievements, we need to get better. This is something which Europe is not good at. We are really good at inventing, but we're not good at innovating. We are good at exploring, but we are not good at exploiting. Exploitation sounds
not
so
in
badly.
Not in a negative light. Yeah,
we need to explore and exploit at the same time. We need to exploit the scientific research in order to make it innovative, in order to make it properly commercially viable. Because in the end, we need to, in one way or another, earn money on our research, because that's what pays the research of tomorrow.
Of course, yeah.
So we really still have quite a bit of path to go. So, to come back to your question, what I've learned is that scientists are very good at science. What I've learned also is that entrepreneurs tend to be not so much the inventors, but rather the commercialization players. So bringing the two together and still knowing who's good at what, because the problem is that we've been trying to make scientists entrepreneurs, and execution is a completely different breed than exploration. Executing a clear plan and path over years and not letting go anymore requires a skill set which actually, compared to the scientific mind, is a pretty down to earth, pretty limited skill set, which requires just staying on the message, very, very constant hard work, which and basically not switching to another project, staying on the message again. So, and it's very rare that one person exhibits both qualities. So that's why founding teams are so important. That's why actually science and research need to interact, and that's what I do at Science Park with my great team. We drive scientific research results into commercialization, into commercial enterprises. And we, in addition to that, we really drive the ideas, dreams, and visions of our entrepreneurs into commercial success mostly we manage. We do our very best every time. It's a challenge, of course, and every project is different. There is no direct path to success.
Yeah, thank you. You've mentioned kind of innovation a lot, and you really put an emphasis on it. Could I just ask you what kind of inspired you to put such an accent on innovation? Like, because you've already brought it up so many times in your past work. Could you just kind of expand upon that? What was kind of the core thing that led you to like innovation in all aspects?
Well, the way I see innovation is not just a way to earn money or to become famous or to speak at conferences. The way I see innovation is an opportunity to make available great things to a larger group for the greater good. That's what innovation is about. Of course, it also is about earning money. It is about successful market placement. It is about driving an invention into a properly usable, not just commercial, but usable product. We always see the money and kind of say, yeah, someone is earning money on it. The good thing about the byproduct of earning money on something is that it is made accessible. So basically, for me, innovation inherently is the democratization of an actually elitist great idea, which needs to be driven to a larger group. It's a pity and sometimes even egotistic not to innovate. Some of the smartest brains are actually happy to have found something. They don't. I know incredibly smart people who are holding tons of patents, not really doing anything with it because they are explorers. They are not exploiters. There is nothing bad about exploitation. It's actually a way to democratize great stuff, great technologies, great services, great ideas. Because if you don't innovate, it basically stays with you. It's beautiful for you, but it doesn't help the planet, it doesn't help the people.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned also that these are the types of things that you try to accomplish at Science Park Graz. Could you kind of expand upon what are some of the main activities that you do there?
Well, basically, Science Park is a dream factory working every day with a great team on the realization of our clients' ideas, dreams, and visions. What we do is we do exactly follow the path which I've just depicted before. We drive inventions, we drive ideas into proper innovations and successful products and services. There's a lot to consider when doing so. There's a lot of, people tend to not be serial founders. When you found a company, you basically have so much to learn on the process of the foundation, of the creation, of building a supply chain, of building a sales structure, of building a proper management structure, and still have leadership within it. This is all challenging. And the very creative mind very rarely is predetermined to be a good manager or leader. You need a bit of both. Yeah. So basically what we do is we reduce the failures being performed based on our own experience and based on the logic of the system in order to augment the chances and the chances that an idea really reaches the market and that a company becomes successful. It's mostly not because of a bad basic idea that companies fail, but it's mostly because of bad planning, bad team, bad timing. It's very often that secondary effect or negative, or not even it's mostly the smart ideas which fail, and it's the secondary idea which makes it because of good implementation. Implementation is key, and implementation is the problem mostly. And basically, we tend to be quite good at it, but every company is a challenge of its own. There is logics, structural, systemic logics behind every foundation, but in the end, it needs a lot of creativity, and it needs a lot of stamina, and execution is not something where you get a lot of reward out in terms of daily rewards. In the end, if you're successful after a few years, and always consider that it takes longer than you planned, we're talking about always 5 to 10 year paths here, which is a huge amount of lifetime. So what we do is we guide our founders and our clients on that path in order to really increase their chances of success. And with every company which we create and support, and it's like about 300 which we've so far developed, making us the biggest incubator in Austria and quite a bit beyond. So feel free. Don't have to. Any entrepreneur who wants to kind of test his idea or wants to increase the opportunities within a potential invention into an innovation, contact an incubator. It doesn't have to be mine. Science Park Graz is a cool one, but contact someone who actually really can support you.
Who's that exploitation?
Yeah, who's gone through this process with others, and don't let your equity be too much eaten up, too much diluted by such a process, because a good incubator does not dilute you to a problematic degree, because this is actually the first. This would be the first bad decision to have someone help you in regards with equity. Too much equity actually should not be part of the deal with an incubator. So, but join or take a mentor, and try never to found alone, but always try to have a clear managerial leadership structure, because even if you create a company with friends, you might not have known how they act in a business matter. Yeah. So you always need to have an opportunity to change things, and you need to stay in control, but not suffocate the company with your control. It's a bit like a relationship.
You need to let it breathe a bit, but
you need to commit, and you need to still let it breathe. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You did mention some kind of advice to the entrepreneurs, and I know you generally are not of the stance that people should look at your career and ask you for career advice. But do you have any final words for the entrepreneurs aside from what you just mentioned, or young talented inventors? How can they approach starting their business aside from approaching an incubator?
Well, approaching an incubator is just one way to potentially deal with this challenge. It's a smart way. It's not the only one, and it also doesn't work for everybody. Basically, it's the advice which I kind of embody myself, and which I try to, if I'm asked in a very soft manner, communicate to others, is that actually creativity tends to be a very strong empowerment force of success. So we need to kind of have time for ourselves we think far too little about life in general, and we take too little time to look at beautiful things, at art, at films, and whatever. We waste our times being busy all the time, and this doesn't help our execution capabilities. This doesn't help our creative capabilities either. So basically, if there's one critical thing, first of all, also stress kills creativity a lot. Don't be too stressed about your careers or your success. Try to really, it's easy to say, but try to really stay and be in harmony with yourself, because that's basically the basis. Even if it doesn't work out, even if you're not becoming successful at what you do, if you're in harmony with yourself, you already have one huge success, which is staying with you.
A lot of people don't.
So, and actually, what is the worst that can happen is to be hunted by success, and to have to be more or less depending on it. I know this
for your validation.
You shouldn't be. You should create a stable structure within yourself, and then success, and work hard and stable, and also take times off in order to think. I'm not talking about holidays. I'm talking about here and there taking an afternoon off and putting your feet on the desk and thinking about life and where you want to go, and whether your team is happy, and whether you're a good superior and a good partner today. This is more important. This is making careers. This is making actually lives. The point is, we need to look at lives, not at careers. What is the life you live?
Yes.
What is the life you live? Where do you want to go? Not jobs-wise, but you as a person, because we are ourselves. We are partners. Some are fathers. we are kids,
Yeah.
we are bosses, we are colleagues. It's a multitude of elements.
Multitude of personalities.
And we always look just at the boss or at the colleague or at the employee. But it's in the end the totality of what I've just mentioned which forms us. And there is even much more than that. Some are artists, others are technicians, some are technicians and artists, and this is core to them. Some need the stage, others actually are not good on stage. And everybody has a place, and especially
and some people thrive on stage.
Yes, exactly. And then they thrive on stage, but they are not good for anything else.
Yeah.
Others are actually amazing, and they can't really sell, and they are actually very, very kind of almost dodgy on a stage.
Yeah.
But they might be the best executioners when it comes to implementation. So very hard to, but basically, maintain. Let's not look at careers. Let's look at lives.
If I can summarize what you're trying to say is kind of recognize within yourself what are the key aspects of you as a person, not just professional-wise, but personal-wise, and kind of fulfill all those roles equally and be content and kind of comfortable with who you are so that you can blossom in all of them equally.
I think you said that much better than I could. I fully agree.
No.
Sounds a bit like an esoteric approach, but not at all. I think in the end, this is what matters. This is how I tried to guide myself. I didn't always manage, by the way. I've had my unhappy times as well.
Of course, yeah. People have those times of overworking,
yes.
and it's.
And but in the end, I think creativity and not following any clear path and being able to kind of switch and know that we are imperfect. The planet is imperfect, as are we. There is flaws to a lot of things as well as to ourselves, and accepting that and kind of being smooth and easy about it, I think is quite
the
a
best
useful
way to
approach.
go through life. Yeah.
Still, in the end, one thing which I think needs to remain, we need to kind of really stay focused on what we do, not it's not a game how we do things. We need to have an easy approach to life, but when we work on something, it needs to be done highly effectively with a lot of precision and a lot of focus. That's core, because from a mediocre work performance, you will not get a good life or career out. But from over suffocating and from being over aspirational, as cool as it may sound in a talk, to be working 24 hours a day is not going to end anywhere, but probably in detrimental health status. So, but really working hard and then kind of letting go a bit, and really staying focused and still letting go on other elements, I think is core. But in the end, to be honest, whoever gives career advice is probably most certainly bullshitting you.
That's the best career advice you can give to someone. If he's telling you,
The same, by the way, applies if someone tells you that he or she knows the perfect recipe to build a company. It's certainly a cheat, because there is no recipe. It's always hard work combined with, being flexible, luck and circumstances, timing. There's so much. There is no recipe. Still, there is risks which you can kind of take out of the equation. We as incubation players, we do that, but we also have no success principles fully in place. Otherwise, we would be on another place, in another place.
Okay. Thank you very much for this. I have to say, really fun and kind of deep and meaningful conversation that we've had here. Thank you for being our interviewee. I hope you had fun talking to me also.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next time.
Martin Mossler, Science Park Graz and ESA BIC Austria. I'm developing startups and I'm having a lot of fun doing so. It's a pleasure to be at DSC 2022, and the motto which we are following here is absolutely key. Change the world through data. I'm following that principle every single day together with a great team. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a great event.